everybody agreed that the road that we've been on since our inception is solid. And we've had an excellent group of leaders, staff, and board that have led us through 40 years of stewardship of our donors' philanthropic funds, scholarships, grant making, disaster relief, and nonprofit support. We're still on that path. We're still on that road. But the theme that we came away with at that offsite meeting was that we want to start a new lane. We want to be comfortable tackling bigger issues. And to do that, the marching orders we received as we were leaving that meeting was to get more engaged. And that for us is what 2022 is about. It's about getting out there, meeting with our nonprofit leaders, understanding the challenges that face our community. And maybe a good way to describe it is it'll be a year of learning. We want to get out there and understand in depth everything that's facing our community. And when I was talking to Clark about this idea, we both agreed that maybe a better metaphor is a bridge. The bridge starts with the generosity of our donors. It continues through our stewardship of the foundation, and it ends with impact. And that's our goal every day, is to make an impact in our community. I have a couple personal themes as well. I think the staff will probably be kind of tired of it pretty soon, but there's two things that mean a lot to me, and I think it's based on my experience. One is the idea of teamwork, and we have a tremendous team. I can't thank our team enough for helping me in my transition as I have started my time here at the Community Foundation. I was very fortunate to inherit a crackerjack team that Lorelei and Bob trained up. And the other theme is family. And for those of you who know me, I come from a pretty big family, and I'm entering another big family. This family includes all of our stakeholders, all of the folks who are on this call today. It includes our donors, our members, our fund establishers, our anonymous donors, and y'all know who you are, and our nonprofits throughout the Outer Banks. We just finished a month of a very special program that was launched by Lorelei and especially Bob Mueller, where we brought Duke University into the Outer Banks, albeit virtually, to do a 1-month training over 8 full days for over 20 nonprofit leaders here on the Outer Banks. And it was just a tremendous experience. It really felt like a family. It felt like a close-knit network of folks who are working every day to make this place better. And it struck me that we've had 40 years of innovation on how to address unmet needs. And it starts with the first grant, first scholarship award, and it continues today. And I'd like to have you join us. I'd like to invite everybody who's listening today to be part of what we're doing. And if that includes being a member of our team in some way, that would be great. If it includes being a member of our family, as a donor, a volunteer, call us. We're easy to find online, and we'd love to find a way to work with you. So now I'm just going to move into a couple of snapshots of where we are financially. 2021 was really a watershed year. It starts with the fact that throughout the year and closing the year, we finished with $25 million of assets under management, which really puts us in a special category. We are a strong mid-sized community foundation in North Carolina. And North Carolina has become such a regional leader, and the Outer Banks and the Outer Banks Community Foundation are happy to be at the center of that. In addition to that, in 2021, we established 18 new funds. We distributed $146,000 in disaster relief, $169,000 from organizational and designated funds, $174,000 in scholarships to 51 different students, $207,000 in community enrichment and focus grants. And I think most importantly for me, $190,000 in donor advised funds. And that for me is really special. That is people in our community who have chosen to set aside funds that they can make an impact every year. And I thank each and every one of you for doing that. It's been a pleasure to work with you. And I hope for those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet, I get a chance to meet you in 2022. Non-financial highlights of the year. We started the year with a what appears to be, knock on wood, the last round of our Rapid Response Grants program, which was really a watershed. The Rapid Response Grant idea materialized with the disaster relief effort for Hurricane Dorian, continued through COVID. In fact, it really took on a new life during COVID. So that's how we started the year in January, what I hope is our last round of COVID grants. When I came on board and I started talking with Bob Mueller about his time, the thing that really stood out to me was the establishment of a new program called the Trusted Partners Program. This was the work of Lorelei and Bob and our staff to take everything that we've learned from Hurricane Dorian especially and put it into a formalized program with currently 3 trusted partners, Interfaith Community Outreach, OIRRT in Ocracoke, and the Cape Hatteras United Methodist Men. Those agreements were signed at the end of last year, so we're more prepared now than ever for anything that comes our way. And if we've learned anything this year, we don't know what's coming our way. So I think these 2 ideas, the response for Dorian, which was unique, the response for COVID, which was unique, represent 2 new models. And those models are just 2 in a long string of innovations that have happened at the Community Foundation. We closed the year with a new innovation, and that was a large multi-year grant to the Outer Banks Hospital Outreach Cancer Center, which represents yet another way that we can impact our community. It was really a pleasure working with our grants committee to establish this grant award, which will pay out over several years. And there can't be anything more important than addressing the impact of cancer on our community. It's the #1 cause of death. And the idea that our cancer patients can stay in Dare County for treatment as much as possible rather than traveling out of town, it's just a wonderful occurrence, and I'm proud that we're part of it. But we also want to hear from you. These are a number of different ways that we can make an impact in our community. They're almost separate business models. We want to hear from you what the next one is. We don't know what it is, but we're here, and we want to make sure that if there's a cause that you really believe in, if there's an unmet need that you know of, that you feel comfortable reaching out to us and partnering with us. So I'd like to close before I hand the screen off to our nominating committee. I'd like to thank everyone, especially you in attendance today, but specifically, I'd like to thank all of our stakeholders, our founders, our emeritus board members, our current board and staff, those folks who chose to leave the Community Foundation in our will, the David Stick Legacy Society, all of our fund establishers and fund holders, all of our donors who reached deep in the past several years to help us through a number of challenges, all of our volunteers. And now we're going to move to the next part of our program. As I mentioned, the primary purpose of the annual meeting is to elect new board members and to select our next year's nominating committee, who will search for the next class of board members. Here to guide us through the voting process is Patty McKenna. Patty, along with Clark and Charles Hardy, were our nominating committee for this year. She's the executive director of the Outer Banks Relief Foundation. She's also one of our Duke classmates for the Duke University training that we just completed. And she is a true nonprofit leader here on the Outer Banks. So for the next chapter of this broadcast, I'm going to turn it over to Patty.
Thank you, Chris, for that nice introduction. I really enjoyed the recent Duke nonprofit class, and I thank the Community Foundation for sponsoring that. As Chris said, I'm Patty McKenna, and I had the pleasure and the honor to serve on the nominating committee this year, along with Clark Twiddy and with Charles Hardy. I have some good news and some bad news about our experience together. The bad news is we never did get to meet in person and sit down and just share one another's face-to-face company. The good news is that we always conducted our business very efficiently via Zoom and on the phone, because who wants to stay on Zoom for longer than necessary? And although our meetings were right to the point and very efficient, I am pleased to say that they were high quality meetings that produced an amazing slate of candidates to serve on the board of the Community Foundation this year. There are 3 open positions in 2022, and our committee would like to nominate Ray Miggs to fill the remainder of Nancy Caviness's second term. We nominate Claudia Neal and Betty Govan-Selby to their first 3-year terms, and their bios are included in the program that you can access via the link presented to you in the chat. In addition, there are 2 current directors who are eligible and willing to serve a second term each. And those are 3-year terms as well. And those 2 directors are Jean Louise Dixon and Noel Preston. Likewise, their biographies are at the in the program. I'd like to know if there are any nominations from the floor at this time. All right, hearing none, I declare nominations closed. And now I'd like people to unmute your microphones, and I'd like all in favor of electing these candidates to the board of directors as presented, say aye.
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 Thank you. Are there any opposed? All right, then I am very pleased to announce that Ray, Claudia, Betty, Jean Louise, and Noel have all been elected. But there's more now.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. There's a little bit more business to be done. First, I want
Patty, you're muted.
there you go. Thank you. All right, there's more. I'd like the minutes of this meeting to reflect a correction from last year's annual meeting. Last year, it was stated during the nominating process that David Schuffelbarger was elected to his second 3-year term, when in fact, he was nominated to his first 3-year term at last year's annual meeting. I don't believe a vote is needed on this. We could take one when I'm done if someone feels it's necessary, but I want that added to the minutes of this meeting. And wait, there is more still. Now I'm pleased to conduct the election for next year's nominating committee. You might know that it's a tradition at the Community Foundation for the nominating committee to be made up of 1 community member, 1 emeritus director, and the president serving currently. So today our nominating committee would like to unanimously nominate Jennifer Schwartzenberg as the community representative, Nancy Sugg as the previous director, and their bios, as you know, can be found in the program, and the current board president, Clark Twiddy, as the 3rd nominating committee member, and you'll be hearing from Clark later. Do I have any other nominations on the floor for membership for next year's nominating committee? Hearing none, I declare the nominations closed. I'd ask you to unmute yourselves again, and all in favor of electing these 3 candidates, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Are there any nays who would like to speak out? All right, then. I am very pleased to announce that Jennifer, Nancy, and Clark have been elected to be the 2022 nominating committee for the Outer Banks Community Foundation. I want to wrap up by thanking my fellow committee members, Charles Hardy and Clark Twiddy. Thank you for letting me speak on our committee's behalf, and thank you for your great work. And I want to thank everyone out there in Zoom land for participating in this procedural part of the meeting so well. It's not fun, but it is certainly important. And now I think things are going to get more exciting, and I'll pass the mic back to Chris.
Thank you, Patty. I'd also like to thank our nominating committee from this year, Clark, Patty, who just did a wonderful job at presenting our vote, and Charles Hardy, and welcome Jennifer Schwarzenberg and Nancy Sugg to this year's nominating committee, and thank all our 2 departing board members who you'll hear more about in just a moment, and congratulating our new board members. I'm thrilled to be able to work with you going forward. This part of our program is a video commemorating the first 40 years of the Community Foundation's history. And it came about when we made the decision to switch from an in-person meeting to a virtual meeting. And Scout Dixon, one of our board members, made the suggestion that maybe we should do something that's a little bit less drab than just people speaking into a camera. So we reached out to the media team here at Twiddy and Company, and their videographer, Ben Weiner, put together a wonderful short film that commemorates our first 40 years. And I'm thankful to Ben, Miles Daniels, and Clark as well for helping us put this together. And I do want to reassure you, though we don't have a date or a location, we are going to find a way to get together in person to celebrate 40 years, likely in the fall, likely a big party, and you will all certainly be invited. So I would love it, Ben, if you could launch our video.
Dick had a brilliant idea to organize so that individuals and businesses could join together to create a permanent, growing endowment with annual earnings that would be used to address local current and long-range needs.
40 years ago, you know, we didn't even know what a foundation was back then. David, being the scholar that he was the one that really started digging into the foundation situation.
David Stick actually set up our first trust, where contributions, he would make a contribution to the foundation. The foundation actually sold a piece of land that he had. He got the income for his life, and then at his death, the balance of income became the foundation's property.
We saw ourselves at that time as planting seeds. And I think now, and I'm not going to claim responsibility for all of them, but I think we've succeeded in being responsible for many of them. There are over 200 organizations, nonprofit organizations in Dare County that give support to people in the community. It's the most giving community I've ever witnessed or know about.
In the first years of my foundation work, we didn't have enough money to make big grants. What we learned was the importance of estate planning and the importance of getting someone to address an unmet need.
When we started our membership campaign, we had a board member, Wally McCowan, who was a local attorney. Of course, he knew everybody in Dare County. He came up with an idea of the phrase "put something back," and what he was saying there is, you take money from a community, and you need to put something back. And the deal was to put it back into the Outer Banks Community Foundation.
The people that were moving here, lots of them or most of them were retired, and they felt that this was their place, and so they were willing to give money to help it grow and to help it grow in the right direction.
Many early endowments were created for scholarships, a sign our community was serious and passionate about investing in its youth and in higher education.
Thank you to the Outer Banks Community Foundation for allowing me to get all these scholarships that are pushing me to become a nurse.
Josephine Oden was the first woman to serve on the board of directors for the Outer Banks Community Foundation. Josephine was also the first person to establish a scholarship fund at the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation has distributed over $2 million in scholarship awards and now administers 60 scholarship funds. Over 1,100 students in the Outer Banks have received scholarship awards.
Our first grant award assisted Outer Banks Hotline in 1983, and it enabled Hatteras clients to make toll-free calls to the support program Up the Beach. Today, competitive grants and distributions from more than 200 funds put hundreds of thousands of dollars back into our community each year.
Over time, we have awarded over 4,000 grants totaling $12 million. And half of the grants that we do award are in the category of health and human services. We have so many needs in that regard on the Outer Banks, and we're so proud to be able to help in that area.
Most recently, Hurricane Dorian and COVID created disasters that challenged our capacity.
The morning of Hurricane Dorian was like any other morning. Comes about, I don't know, about 7:30 maybe. The eye comes over, we take the kids, we go running on the porch.
Before we know it, you can hear that water just ripping through the woods. I mean, just coming. And it started coming up. About 30 minutes later, it was inside the house, about 27 inches.
Fortunately, a new Rapid Response Grants program got needed support into our communities quickly.
I believe without the Outer Banks Community Foundation, all of Ocracoke would still be struggling. They helped out everybody. In a small way or a big way, they helped everybody.
We have made a tangible difference for 350 families living in Ocracoke and Hatteras Island and across Dare County. When it seemed like all hope was lost and you've lost everything, to know that thousands of people are behind you and contributing and helping you rebuild, I think that's a wonderful feeling. And I just want to thank everybody who gave towards that. We have made a real difference in the lives of our neighbors in helping them rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives.
The funding coming in to be able to help the communities was wonderful. But if there hadn't have been someone with a vision to start that and to help move that along like Lorelei did, I don't believe it would have ever gone as far as it did.
The whole Outer Banks really is a community in itself. It's not just Ocracoke or Hatteras or all of these other little communities. There really is like an overarching sense of family. And when we were in need, other parts of our family really stepped up and came to our aid. And we were able to kind of take that jumping point and that initial support and continue moving forward so we could help our community.
No matter what we think, there'll be something different that's going to occur in the future, and that we'll be able to handle it because we have handled it, and we take that job and that experience has been given to you, and we take it and we run with it. So thank you very much.
The Outer Banks Community Foundation connects people who care with causes that matter. It's not about making grants, it's about making a difference.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much to Ben for making that film. Thanks to everybody on the staff who helped put that together, who participated with us to make that video happen. It might be the first of several ways that we commemorate the 40th anniversary, but that's a pretty good way to start. And how awesome was it to see our friend Edward Green again? I got a chance to work with him a lot over the last 10 years. I had a chance to speak with him on my first week working here. And I want to give a special thanks to Brian Jones, the filmmaker who created that footage. If you haven't seen it yet, you should go to YouTube and check out Christmas Every Day, The Life and Times of Edward Green. What foresight he had to make that movie. I can't imagine him not doing it. You know, just the fact that he took the time, he had the idea to talk to Edward and all of his colleagues to create that film before he passed, which was a true sad day at the Community Foundation. It was just a tremendous foresight. So, thank you, Brian, for making the film. And thank you for letting us use a clip from it. And I also want to point out that we did have a lot of footage from Ocracoke, but in addition to OIRRT, Interfaith Community Outreach and the Cape Hatteras United Methodist Men were equally adept and hardworking at recovery and relief during Hurricane Dorian. And it was super cool to see the founders as well. Great photo of David Stick to start that out. So the next part of our meeting is to award our annual Champion Award. As many of you know, the Champion Award is awarded each year to someone who has demonstrated exemplary service to our community. Many times it's somebody who has really been tremendously helpful to the Community Foundation itself. And sometimes it's awarded to someone who has stepped up in our community on a wider basis. And this is one of those years. So I am proud to announce that the 2022 Champion Award goes to Dr. Sheila Davies. We are awarding our Champion Award to Dr. Davies for exemplary service and dedication to the Outer Banks in compassionately leading our community during a pandemic and beyond. Since 2014, Dr. Sheila Davies has been the director of Dare County Department of Health and Human Services and the Public Health Director. In this role, she directly oversees the county's public health operations and provides direction for social services and veteran services. She is also an adjunct faculty member with the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and teaches master-level public health courses. Prior to her current position, she served as the coordinator for the North Carolina statewide telepsychiatry program and implemented telepsychiatry services in over 50 hospital emergency departments across the state of North Carolina. In 2020, Dr. Davies was honored by the North Carolina Public Health Association with the Reynolds Medal of Achievement for her contributions to public health in North Carolina. Dr. Davies received her bachelor's degree from the College of William and Mary, Master's of Public Administration degree, and a PhD in Public Policy and Administration from Walden University, specializing in health policy. Dr. Davies was elected as mayor of the town of Kill Devil Hills in 2011 and served 4 consecutive terms through 2019. She serves or has served on numerous task forces, committees, boards locally and statewide. Dr. Davies' greatest treasures are her supportive husband, Daryl Davies, and their 2 sons, Wyatt, age 13, and Chase, age 11. So, folks, I would like to introduce you to our 2021 Champion Award, Dr. Sheila Davies.
Chris, thank you so much. Well, first off, before I say a few words, I just want to say what a remarkable video that was. I saw the comments in the chat saying the same thing, but very well done. Just makes you feel really good watching it. And me, I had to go off camera for a moment. If you know me well enough, you know I get sappy pretty easily. And so I went off camera because I was dotting my eyes a little bit, because it's just it's so touching what's accomplished in our community. So, and specifically today, I just want to tell you all how deeply honored I am to accept the recognition. And I do so, though, on behalf of an extraordinary team who've risen to the challenges this year and the opportunities, well, over the past 2 years created by the pandemic. From our staff at Health and Human Services to the support from other county departments like Emergency Management, the Sheriff's Department, EMS, Public Relations, Finance, the county manager and elected officials, our town, the municipality representatives. We're just so blessed to have such a strong working relationship. And I'm really proud and grateful for their dedication and service throughout the pandemic, in addition to everything everybody was doing prior to the pandemic. Certainly the past 2 years have been really trying and brought challenges that we had not seen before. But it also brought opportunities for redefining our workflows, changes in our communications and interactions with others, and how we approach resilience as individuals and a community. When I look back over the last 2 years, you can think of the hardships and the trials and tribulations, but I prefer to look back and think about the remarkable way our community has responded. From the heroic efforts of healthcare providers throughout the Outer Banks, to pharmacists, to the adaptability of schools and childcare centers, to the flexibility and creativity demonstrated by our business community, our nonprofits and our government agencies, and certainly the resilience of everyday citizens and carrying on with their lives and adapting to the changes. All of these are, to me, reminders of just what an outstanding community that we live in. I know in my 20 plus years living on the Outer Banks, I've been continually impressed by the loving and giving nature of the people of the Outer Banks, and that was demonstrated in your video. And this was also demonstrated repeatedly throughout the pandemic with the Outer Banks Community Foundation's COVID response, rapid response grants. Time and again, when needs arise, the Outer Banks Community Foundation, area nonprofits, businesses, government, citizens step up and create solutions. I've been asked repeatedly by my colleagues across the state how we achieve some of the successes that we have in Dare County throughout the pandemic, like the high vaccination rate, the quick setup of mass testing when needed, our overall communication strategies that we've used. And the first thing that I always share is that it's attributed to strong relationships and people who genuinely care about our community. I love being a part of this very special community. And just want to close by saying congratulations and thank you to the Outer Banks Community Foundation for 40 years of remarkable service and giving to our community. The enhancements just are immeasurable. And also, of course, thank you very, very much for this really special recognition. Thank you.
Sheila, that was wonderful. Hello, everybody. My name is Clark Twiddy, and Chris, you and I are sitting down here in Duck, and we've got about 20 minutes left. So we know that it is impossible to be formal on Zoom. Thank you for being here on Zoom. I'm looking around our camera, 73 people live on Zoom joining us. So I have a few things to begin to wrap up today, again, about 20 minutes, and we will chat just as though we were sitting around your kitchen table about a few things working in the community foundation, your community foundation, and then where we see it going. First and foremost, Scott Brown taught me one time that the chairman's job is really to say thank you. So I'm getting ready to get on a hot streak to say thank you to some people. First and foremost, I'd like to highlight just for a moment the contributions of two departing board members. And the first is Nancy Caviness. Nancy Caviness got her dream job. Nancy, congratulations to you. You have been a part of the Community Foundation now for 5 years. You were a scholarship committee co-chair for several years. You've been involved in that committee going back to 2014. Imagine all those students that have gone on to change the vectors rather of their lives because of what you've done. You are a fund establisher, the Advice 5K Turkey Trot Fund, a fundraiser through your annual Turkey Trot. And you've also participated very recently in some of our diversity initiatives and donor outreach initiatives. Your impact is remarkable. And on a personal note, Nancy, I have learned a great deal watching you work, and I appreciate that. And your contributions to the Community Foundation will always be remembered. Number two, Jane Webster. And frankly, I don't have the words to really articulate all the different impacts Jane has had. Those of you who know Jane know that she is this perfect combination of steel and grace. She's been on the board for more than 7 years now. She's been the vice chair. She declined being the chair. That's why I'm fortunate to sit in this chair right now. More importantly, and more to her passion, she's been the grants committee chair now for several years. Again, has participated all the way back to 2016. She is a Legacy Society member. She is a fund establisher as well, the Webster Family Fund and the Webster Family Charitable Fund. She's also participated in donor outreach events, countless meetings and agendas and minutes. Jane, we will not say goodbye to Jane today. It's not befitting to do so over Zoom. We'll have a great party, and Jane, we would love for you and Nancy to join us in that party. That said, Jane, your contributions to the Community Foundation and all of the folks in that ecosystem, I think, are worthy of a statue. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll say more about that at a future party. While I'm saying thank you, I also want to share a warm welcome with our newest board members. Claudia Neal, I know you're out there. Betty Selby, Ray Miggs. It is a pleasure. We are very excited to have your perspective on the board right now. We asked for your perspective from day one. We need your perspective. That's really good. Chris, I know you're new as well. I'm proud of the process that the board used and facilitated to not only get you to this position, I'm proud of that, but I also know that your journey at the Community Foundation will be a very important one. We just heard from Eddie Green a moment ago. And Ray and Jack, I know you're here as well today, founders of the Community Foundation. $25 million assets under management. That's a big number. That allows us to have a lot of impact. Ray, I heard you say you didn't know what a foundation was. Well, now look at what you did. So that's great to see. I also want to comment something you said earlier. While I'm on the topic of thanking everybody, we've got a Cracker Jack staff. I know that it seems obligatory sometimes to thank staff. We've got an awesome staff. Everybody out there, stop by and see the foundation in action at Skyline Drive in Southern Shores one day. We've got an awesome staff. Let me pivot very quickly, 15 minutes left, to an organization that is celebrating 40 years. I think it's befitting that we look in the past to do that. It's also equally as befitting to look into the future. So now come with me in your mind's eye, if you will, to the year 2032. And by my math, that's the year Jane Webster will turn 39 years old. So Jane, happy birthday. And let's look back for a future board and a future staff who we don't know. And let's ask ourselves, what have we done to make that board, that staff, and those stakeholders as successful as they could possibly be? And while we talk a lot about complexity, and oh, by the way, if you'd ever like to chat about financial complexity, Packy Regan and his financial team do a lot of really complex things in their stewardship. We'll talk briefly about that. But at the core, Chris, you alluded to, what we do is very simple. We hope to inspire, number one, personal generosity. Let's be honest, where there's no money, there's no mission. It is through the courageous acts of donors that everything becomes possible. You'll see us work on behalf of those donors this year on things like governance and things like sustainability, through what we'll call a family of funds approach to sustainability. If you'd like to know more about that, we welcome them. Second, we take generosity and we apply that to great stewardship. We have a partner firm in Greensboro, North Carolina, called the Trust Company of the South, that takes this $25 million and invests it very wisely and very judiciously, with an eye toward the effort that went into creating that generosity. And they have been with us now, Chris, I believe 18 years. And through their great stewardship, and through the stewardship of your board and volunteers on that board. We have a clean audit as well, by the way, as a reflection of that. That's always very important to be good stewards. Through that stewardship, we then look at impact, and we define impact really along 3 different pillars. We think about sustainability. You've heard us talk about that. We think about being efficient. I think it's very important to always be an efficient organization. Whether we have $1 or $25 million, we should be equally as efficient. And then number 3, meaningful impact. I think you heard Chris talk about things like the Cancer Center, things like moving the needle for different organizations. And that's what we do. Looking forward in 2032, I hope that board will describe us as an organization, as a group of people who were collaborative by instinct. Patty McKenna, great job in the nominating committee. Charles Hardy, Sheila Davies, the list goes on and on. Collaborative by instinct. We heard that in our strategic offsite. We continue to hear that as we work with you. We hope that that board will describe us as fully engaged in our relationships, not just on Zoom or over email, but in your neighborhood. Our new board members, Claudia Neal over in Manio, Betty Selby in Manio, Jean Louise Dixon down in Hatteras, Ruth Toff down in Ocracoke. We sit here in Duck today. We are your neighbors. We hope that will never change. And then you'll see us look to shape impact in a way that allows us to more fully engage our citizenry across the Outer Banks. It's not just folks who look like I do. Let's be really candid about that. We're proud of our initiatives around diversity and to making sure that we engage every nook and cranny of this organization. If we haven't touched you and your community yet, please let us know, and we would love to figure out a way to do it. And then we're wrapping up now. I'm just over 10 minutes. On a final note, I also want to thank our board, our entire board, for their service. They are volunteers. We have a great board. I don't say that to blow smoke at them. This is a board that I would put up against any board anywhere. It is awesome. The mind power in that board is remarkable. I also want to thank the officers of the Community Foundation, Jane Webster, Linda Hester, Jean Louise Dixon, Packy Regan. Countless hours, countless meetings. They're busy. We're all busy, but they do a lot of wonderful work. And lastly, above all, as we begin to wrap up, I'd like to thank our most important group of folks, and that is our donors. I could go on for an hour, but as Sheila and Patty pointed out, long Zoom conversations are tough. Thank you for being here as it stands right now. Without our donors, without the courage that they showed to make an investment in the future, none of this, none of those thousands of students, 51 last year, more than $1 million for Doria, none of those humbling numbers would have been possible without those donors and those founders. I want to highlight that group. So, Chris, there's nothing better than wrapping up a Zoom meeting a little bit early rather than a little bit later. I know we're on Zoom. I still see we've got 72 folks in the room. Is there anything else that we need to say? Is there anyone out there who has a topic on their mind that we need to talk about as we begin to close up? I know it's impractical to open up the floor in Zoom. Using that chat feature, we'll let it stay open just for a second. Nandy is right off camera. Nandy, if you see anything that we've forgotten or that we need to address, please let us know and we'll be happy to do so. Other than that, Chris, I hope that was a good summary.
Absolutely.
I'm happy you're here. Is there anything else we need to chat about on behalf of our stakeholders and our membership? I'll be quiet for a moment, which might surprise some people out there. And we'll let Nandy see if there's anything else online. Sheila, congratulations and well-deserved on that champion award. Anything out there we need to chat about?
I do want to say, if you will allow me.
We're going to do a quick gallery view. Oh, there we go. I see Betty out there. Go ahead, Betty.
Thank you so much for choosing me and considering me. It means a lot to me. Hopefully I can bring my little bit to the table for Manio diversity. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks to the nominating committee. I forgot, thanks to Tess, and I forgot the lady who nominated me. Thank you too. And I'm looking forward to making a difference in serving.
Well,
Betty,
I feel a
thank you very much.
little.
We're looking forward. Claudia.
Yes, I was like, I want to talk, but I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm very humble, and I mean, it's like I told you before, it's really an honor, and thank you to everybody that support my nomination. And like Betty said, hopefully we can help with what you were trying to do, bringing diversity. So I'm very, very honored. That's it.
Claudia, we're honored as well. I see lots of comments coming in the chat window right now. Please take a moment to look at that. Chris, any parting thoughts before we stand adjourned?
Well, I think if there's anything that I want to share with this group is call us, email us, text me. Those of you who don't have my cell phone number already, reach out to me via email or call. That's the best way to reach me. And we want to be responsive. We want to be engaged. We don't want to sit behind a wall from the community. We want to be immersed in the community. So contact us. This is a special year. This is a real milestone. And in addition to just being a natural place in the history of this organization to look back, we have marching orders from our leadership to engage. So this year, if you haven't gotten involved, if you haven't asked us to get involved with you, let us know. Give us a call.
All right. I think that's a great place to end. Nandy, I think we can even wrap up a few minutes early and give everybody some time back in their day. Come see us. Come reach out to us. Let us know how we can engage. I ask everybody out there, if you're thinking about being generous, the most important thing we do is inspire your generosity. Take a look at all the things in that chat window. I see Tim Sweeney out there putting some things in there. Nancy, Jane Webster will raise a toast to you. Ray, Jack, thank you. And with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your support of your community foundation.